Greetings! Welcome to our channel. We'd be thrilled if you'd like and subscribe. This is a heartwarming story about a chance encounter that changes lives forever. A wealthy retiree, stranded with a flat tire, is helped by a young boy whose kindness sparks an unexpected connection. What begins as a simple act of generosity unfolds into a journey of gratitude, transformation, and rediscovery, proving that the smallest gestures can ripple into profound change. Here's the full story. James Carter, a wealthy man in his late 60s, sat alone in his sleek black Cadillac, impatiently tapping his thumb on the steering wheel, the air conditioning humming to fend off the Georgia heat. A retired financier who built his fortune in New York's cutthroat markets, James was used to things going his way. But that day, he found himself stranded with a flat tire, far from the comfort of his pristine mansion on the outskirts of Savannah. After several failed attempts to call roadside assistance, he sighed, resigned to wait, irritation creeping in. Then he noticed a figure approaching along the dusty road. A young boy, about 12 or 13, in a faded t-shirt and worn sneakers, walking with purpose. The boy's eyes narrowed as he studied the car. Then he gave James a polite but confident nod. "Got a flat tire, sir?" the boy asked in a steady voice. "Yeah, you're right," James replied, feeling a strange mix of relief and unease. "I was hoping for some help, but my phone's got no signal out here." The boy flashed a small smile. "I can help with that," he said, kneeling beside the tire without hesitation. "My grandpa taught me how to change a tire last summer. You got a spare?" James pointed to the trunk, watching as the boy opened it and pulled out the tools. The boy worked quickly, his hands moving with a quiet confidence that seemed almost beyond his years. As James stood there, a strange humility crept in, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. He wanted to offer the boy something in return, but the young man barely looked up, focused on the task. In minutes, the boy finished, wiping his hands on his jeans and stepping back. "All done," he said, offering a faint, satisfied smile. James reached for his wallet, pulling out a few bills and holding them out. "Here, take this. I really appreciate your help." But the boy stepped back, politely raising a hand. "Thanks, sir, but I don't need anything. Just glad to help." Stunned, James stood there, money still in hand, as the boy turned and walked away down the road. The interaction touched him in a way he couldn't quite explain. Alone now, he tucked the money back into his wallet, got into his car, and watched in the rearview mirror as the boy's figure grew smaller in the distance. As he drove, James's thoughts kept drifting back to the boy. There was a quiet dignity in him, a self-assurance not born of money or privilege, but of something deeper. That evening, sitting alone in his lavish home, James couldn't shake the image of the boy walking away with just a smile. In his leather armchair, surrounded by shelves of untouched books, the ticking of a grandfather clock the only sound, James sat with his untouched dinner, a perfectly cooked steak and asparagus, on a side table. He'd met thousands of people in his life, business partners, employees, investors. Most interactions revolved around deals, favors, or expectations. But this boy, a stranger, helped him for no reason other than kindness. Sipping his scotch, the memory of the boy's confident smile replayed in his mind. The boy didn't seem to have much. Worn shoes, faded clothes, dust on his hands told a story, yet he carried himself with an integrity that felt rare. The next morning, James couldn't resist the urge to find the boy. He wasn't sure why, guilt, gratitude, or curiosity, but something felt unfinished. He drove back to the same stretch of road, scanning the horizon for any sign of the boy. Hours passed as he stopped at gas stations and small diners, asking anyone who'd listen if they'd seen a young boy matching the description. Most shrugged or shook their heads until an elderly woman behind a diner counter spoke up. "Sounds like you're talking about Noah," she said, wiping her hands on her apron. "That kid's always helping folks around here. Lives with his mom in Macon." "Macon," James repeated, making a mental note. "Thank you." Macon was an hour's drive, nestled in Georgia's heartland. The road was scenic, but James barely noticed, his mind racing with questions. What was this boy's life like? What kind of family raised him? Arriving in Macon, the streets were quiet, lined with modest homes and small businesses. He asked locals about Noah, and eventually someone pointed him to a small house on the edge of town. The house was weathered but tidy, its porch sagging slightly. James parked, hesitating, unsure what to say. Taking a deep breath, he knocked. A woman in her early 40s answered, looking tired but kind, her eyes sharp and curious as she sized him up. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Good morning," James said, clearing his throat. "Sorry to bother you, but I think I met your son yesterday. Noah, right? He helped me with a flat tire." Her face softened instantly. "That sounds like my Noah," she said with a faint smile. "He's always helping folks." "I wanted to thank him properly," James said. "He wouldn't take anything from me yesterday." She nodded, stepping aside. "He's out back. You can wait." James stepped inside, taking in the modest surroundings. The furniture was old but clean, the walls adorned with family photos and a few hand-drawn pictures that looked like Noah's from years ago. It was nothing like his own home, with its polished surfaces and expensive art. Yet this space felt warmer, more alive. He followed her to the backyard where Noah was fixing a fence. The boy looked up, surprised to see James. "Hey, mister," Noah said, wiping his hands on his jeans. "What are you doing here?" James smiled, feeling oddly nervous. "I wanted to thank you again. You helped me when I really needed it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it." Noah shrugged, his expression easy and genuine. It wasn't a big deal. But to James, it was. He was determined to show it. Noah leaned against the fence, his curious gaze lingering on James. Neither spoke for a moment. The boy's calm demeanor made James feel slightly out of place, as if he were being judged. "I don't think you realize how big a deal it was," James said, breaking the silence. "People don't usually help strangers without expecting something in return." Noah tilted his head, puzzled. "I don't see it that way. If someone needs help and I can do it, why not?" James was struck by the simplicity of the boy's logic. He looked past Noah at the yard. The fence was patched with mismatched wood, the grass uneven and sparse. An old swing set tilted shakily, its chains rusted. It was clear Noah's family didn't have much, yet they made do. "You've got a good head on your shoulders," James said, meaning it. "Your mom must be proud." Noah grinned, glancing back at the house. "She works hard. I just try to help where I can." James paused, absorbing the boy's words. He thought of his own childhood in a house much like this, his parents working tirelessly to make ends meet, teaching him the value of hard work. Over the years, he'd drifted from those lessons, caught up in chasing wealth and status. Now, standing in this yard, he felt a pang of nostalgia and regret. "I'd like to do something for you and your family," James said finally. Noah's expression grew cautious. "We're fine, mister. We don't need anything." "It's not about need," James insisted. "It's about what's right. You help me, and I'd like to return the favor." Before Noah could respond, his mother stepped onto the porch, wiping her hands on a towel. "Noah, you'd better come inside and wash the dishes before dinner," she called. Then her gaze shifted to James. "Care to join us? It's nothing fancy, but you're welcome." James hesitated, unaccustomed to such invitations, but her sincerity left no room for excuses. "I'd like that," he said, following her inside. The kitchen smelled of fresh-baked cornbread and sautéed greens. The table was small, surrounded by mismatched chairs, but set with care. James sat, feeling out of place in his tailored suit, amid the modest setting. Noah washed his hands at the sink and joined them, his easy smile unwavering. As they ate, James found himself drawn into their conversation. Noah talked about school, friends, and his dream of becoming an engineer. His mother shared stories about the community, speaking with quiet pride about neighbors who looked out for each other. James listened, feeling a warmth he hadn't known in years. Despite his wealth and success, his own home felt cold and empty compared to this modest house filled with laughter and genuine connection. After dinner, as they cleared the table, James turned to Noah's mother. "You've done a remarkable job raising him," he said. "He's got more heart than most people I know." She smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you. He's a good kid, but we've had our struggles. We've learned to appreciate the little things." James nodded, his mind already racing with ideas. He didn't want to overstep, but he couldn't leave without doing something. This family had given him a gift he hadn't realized he needed, a reminder of what truly mattered. James left their home that day with a clarity he hadn't felt in years. Driving back to his estate, he began to plan. It wasn't about charity. It was about honoring the boy's selflessness and the family's resilience. Noah and his mother deserved more than patched fences and worn furniture. They deserved stability and recognition for the strength they showed every day. The next morning, James made calls, reaching out to old colleagues, contractors, and suppliers. By noon, a plan was in motion. Within a week, trucks and workers arrived at Noah's house. James stood on the sidewalk, tablet in hand, overseeing repairs as Noah and his mother watched in shock. "You didn't have to do this," Noah's mother said, her voice trembling as she watched the crew unload materials. "We've managed just fine." James turned to her, his expression earnest. "You've done more than manage. You've thrived. But you gave me something I didn't know I was missing. Let me give back." Noah was quieter than usual, standing beside his mother, his face thoughtful. James knelt slightly, meeting his gaze. "You taught me something, Noah. Helping people isn't about money. It's about showing up. I want to show up for you." Over the next few weeks, the house transformed. The sagging porch was replaced with sturdy wood, the roof repaired, and the rusted swing set swapped for a new one. Inside, walls were painted, floors polished, and the kitchen updated with modern appliances. At first, Noah tried to help with the repairs, carrying boards and sweeping debris, but James insisted he take a break. "Your job," James said with a smile, "is to enjoy being a kid for a bit." Still, Noah couldn't resist slipping out to watch the crew, his eyes alight with curiosity as he observed them measure, cut, and build. A burly worker named Mike noticed his interest and invited him to help measure boards. Soon, Noah was asking questions about tools and construction, his excitement infectious. James watched from a distance, a warm pride swelling in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt he was doing something meaningful, something beyond himself. The boy's energy reminded him of ambitions he'd once had, before life became a blur of boardrooms and stock portfolios. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the project neared completion, the family stood on the porch, admiring the transformation. Noah's mother turned to James, her voice thick with emotion. "This isn't just a house anymore. It's a home. I don't know how we'll ever thank you." James shook his head, his tone soft. "You already have. You reminded me what life's supposed to be about. Family, connection, purpose. I think I'm the one who owes you thanks." The final day of the renovation felt like a celebration. Neighbors stopped by to see the changes, offering smiles, fresh-baked pies, jars of homemade jam, and even a potted plant. Noah's laughter echoed across the yard as he ran around, showing his friends the new swing set and freshly painted rooms. The house, once tired and worn, now radiated life. James stood on the porch, leaning against the sturdy new railing, watching the scene unfold. He hadn't felt this kind of joy in years, simple, unfiltered joy from seeing others thrive. Noah's mother approached, holding a glass of iced tea. She handed it to him with a smile. "You've done more than fix a house," she said quietly. "You've given us hope. And I think you found something for yourself, too." James nodded, taking a sip. "I spent so many years chasing things I thought mattered, money, status, influence, but none of it feels like this. Nothing ever filled me like this." As the sun began to set, Noah joined them on the porch, his energy still boundless. He looked at James, his expression thoughtful. "Mr. James," he began, "I've been thinking about what you did for us. I want to do something like this someday. I want to help people too." James placed a hand on Noah's shoulder, his voice steady. "You already are, Noah. Your kindness set all this in motion. Never lose that." The three sat together, watching the sky shift from golden to deep orange, the day's warmth lingering alongside a deeper warmth from connection, gratitude, and shared purpose. When it was time for James to leave, Noah and his mother walked him to his car. The boy's wide smile and his mother's tearful grin etched themselves into James's memory as he drove away. It wasn't the end, he realized. It was the start of a new chapter in their lives. The weeks that followed brought more change. Noah's newfound curiosity about construction grew into a passion. James arranged for him to spend time shadowing the workers who'd repaired the house. Noah soaked up every bit of knowledge, eager to learn. James, in turn, found himself drawn back to Macon again and again. Each visit felt less like a trip and more like coming home. He no longer felt like an outsider in their lives. He was part of something bigger. For the first time in years, he was content. The story ends where it began, in a small town with a big heart, where one kind act by a young boy reminded an old man of life's greatest lesson. It's not what you have, but what you give.